down, get your cup of tea, get your coffee in, whatever it is you want here, and tune in for this one because this guy's name is Charles Ross. His YouTube channel is Teacher Charles TV, and he's a friend of Guy Anderson. Now, Guy Anderson's been on the show a couple of times. You know how popular he is with you guys. And Charles actually did an incredible presentation on a guy called Autodidactics channel on YouTube. Campbell, I believe his name is. Yeah, Charles, thanks for joining me, mate. That was a fantastic presentation you did. That was my entry into your world. And yeah, thanks for joining me. And I mean, there's so much to this subject, isn't there? And you know, it should be electrifying, pun intended.
Yeah, yeah, great pun. Yeah. Yes, thank you for having me on. Nice to meet you. This is the first time we've
Mm.
had a chat. But yeah, I've presented a few different theories and then try to back them up with research. And sometimes it's hard to find what you're looking for, and sometimes when you break through that sort of wall of truth into like a whole new sort of reality, you get this cascading of facts and information, and it's such a great feeling
Mm.
because we've been lied to about everything. So there is nothing you shouldn't look into, nothing you shouldn't research. I love studying history, biology, especially this topic this year of electromagnetic power and photoelectric effects and how our realm actually functions as opposed to what we're taught at school, which is a complete waste of time. I mean,
Mm.
everything I was taught at school turned out to be false information. And it's with these past empires like the Etruscans and the Cathars and the architecture of these great cities in Spain and Portugal, that when you analyze how the architecture is structured, and you compare maybe East Asian architecture like Chinese temples to Greek and Roman temples, you start to realize that there's this kind of pattern that it's almost built for a very specific purpose. It's not just simply a beautiful place to kind of shield you from like the elements, you know.
Mm.
Um, and there are a lot of books that have been written on the golden ratio. Have you come across that? You're,
Which specific books do you mean?
oh, so like, have you heard of Fibonacci?
Oh, I know this. I know what golden ratio. I just mean, is there any specific books that you think we should also go to with regards to that, or do you just mean the topic in general?
Yeah, there's a lot of great books. Yeah,
Yeah.
so there are great books written about the architectural
Hmm.
Fibonacci sequence spiral being used,
Yeah.
specifically books on the history of the Moors in Spain. And so one book is the accumulators of uh, Orvieto Cathedral,
Okay.
which is in Spain, and there are a lot of books on the history of the Moors. I can try to find the
Mm.
names of the books.
Yeah. Okay.
And what they've done is they have intentionally built the buildings in a way that channels etheric energy. So etheric energy it was originally in the 1928 periodic table, which was written in Russia, I think the first one. And then it was removed, and I think it was removed partly because it kind of gives you all the information that you
Mm.
need about why the human body has a head and two arms and why we look the way we do, and where we actually get the energy from to be able to walk and talk and
Mm.
think and where our thoughts come from. So I think it was intentionally removed. I think a lot of the elements from the periodic table were removed, and we have to try to find those again. But in Spain they had those in the first universities in Spain, in Cordoba and Alhambra.
Mm.
There were a lot of these universities where they were basically teaching this knowledge about energy. about um, how to harness energy, and then also how to harness and move the energy of water, and how to recalibrate water and clean water,
Mm.
and uh, this led me on to looking at the golden ratio within the human body and within nature. And then, which is kind of backwards. I should have looked at nature first and looked at the human body first, and then looked at cathedrals like
Mm.
Orvieto and why it's got this like basalt and granite stacking architecture. And I don't know why I put this picture up behind me today for my background, but it's perfect because here you have every different genre of architecture or every different age of architecture utilizing sound frequency and energy frequency. So sometimes it's a lattice like a diamond or a hexagon, and the idea is that you have negative and positive energy being stacked. I know this is going to sound pretty insane to a lot of people, but the black basalt and the granite interact, as you said earlier, like a masculine, feminine energy.
Mm.
So one is magnetic, one is electric, and they stack and they create a power station, if you like.
Mm.
And all of that knowledge was lost after Queen Isabella kicked the Moors out of Europe in 1498, and nothing was being built for like a few hundred years in Spain. But before the Moors got there, there was nothing either. There was no water irrigation. There was no sort of um, uh, like fruit plantations, like orangeries that you have everywhere in Europe now. And this has really become this like this connected like um, thread between almost every European country, where you have this 8th century awakening of universities and orangeries and water irrigation
Mm.
and these cathedrals with which are actually cathodes, which is this electrical term for positive energy, and then the anode would be the negative energy. So it is like the Chinese temples. It's exactly the same theory. Nothing changes. They're still in this realm where you need a yin and yang or a positive, negative, female, male, right? So so when I then looked at another book, please don't ask me the name of the book.
That's all right. We'll work it out. I'll put it in after. I'll just write it
I'll
underneath. All right.
find out for
Yeah.
you
Don't worry.
later.
Don't worry. We'll
I
do it.
can't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
a book about how the human anatomy um, has been used and the human skeleton has been used to design the sacred geometry of every cathedral.
Oh wow.
Right. So your temple is literally the temple. It's the inner
Mm.
sanctum, and
Hmm.
your arms and legs are the courtyards, and then you have the sacral, like the sacral chakra where people are learning, and then the heart would be the innermost sanctum, like the most holy of holies. And yes, I don't believe that the heart is pumping blood. I believe that it's this Gordian knot, this coil that
Yeah.
is generating electricity,
Yeah.
and that's actually the real functioning human body. It's an electrical salt battery, if you like.
Mm.
And this is why we have all of these references in language, like if you do really well, you're a bright spark, you know. And it's like, is your hair
Mm.
really your antenna? And is your dome actually, how they came up with this concept of copper domes? Like if you look at Ottoman architecture, there's always like a dome, St. Paul's Cathedral, you've got this dome.
I should show you outside my window because you've got like a huge dome
Yeah,
with
if
like.
you have a dome, you
Just
have that
let me quickly show you because
science.
I think it's quite interesting. Like,
Yeah.
tell me if you can see because it's so beautiful. Oh, hang on,
Wow.
hang on. There we go. Can you?
Oh, wow. Oh, yes. No, I mean, I think a lot of people have to understand that all of the Greek like philosophers, Plato, all of the Socrates and uh, Most of those ended up studying somewhere else. Usually
Mm.
it was Egypt, sometimes for up to 15 years. And it took them a few years just to convince the Egyptians to teach them all the secrets of how they were building and constructing their cities and harnessing energy. And I mean, even today, the sophistication of the measurements and the size and the scale of the pyramids are very hard for people to comprehend. We can't
Mm.
really re rebuild those, even though they're there and we can study them, and people have done for many kind of decades. We still can't recreate that
Mm.
sort of architecture. So I mean, these were obviously very large uh, um, electromagnetic devices that were pulling water up out of the ground because it was a very kind of dry, desolate area.
Mm.
So they are pulling water out of the ground. They had a capstone that usually that's removed because it's very expensive quartz, like a gigantic piece of crystal. And they were covered in like gold and some of them silver, different kinds of sort of shiny metals that would take as much energy from the sun as possible. And they would also create a type of white powder inside the king's chamber just by using this electromagnetic force. And
Mm.
everything is electromagnetic. If they try to complicate this world with any other theory or idea, that's actually all they're doing. They're just trying to overcomplicate it so that you can't see what's going on.
Hidden
Yes,
history.
everything is this piezoelectric feldspar. That's what
Mm.
everyone's trying to create. To
Yeah.
insulate something, create the piezoelectric feldspar. Every cathedral. It's nothing to do with praying to Jesus's lineage, the
Yeah.
Merovingian lineage, or Mary Magdalene's offspring. It's not really anything to do with that. That's just what people have come up with to kind of own it and create this ownership.
Mm.
It's human nature to want to own everything, create real estate and profit and money, and that's how they also fooled many large nations and many races of people have been fooled into thinking that they're from somewhere else and that they're not from their homeland, just to kind of take old ancient structures that we cannot recreate or replicate and turn them into real estate. I think the important thing is why how does my body work and how can I make it work better, I guess,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So how can I make my brain remember more things? How can I attract more information? How can I remember more information? How can I get longevity? How can I live 600 years like biblical prophets did, Abraham, Noah, Enoch, right? They all
Mm.
lived like 600 years. Um, and um, and why are we obviously being taught? I mean, if you went to school today, you'd be taught that the heart is a pump.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be taught that the heart is a this coil. Um, so how much electricity do we have? That's what I spoke to Campbell about.
Hmm.
And yeah, so every beat of your heart or every contraction of your of this Gordian knot, which is a spectacular phrase coined by um, Francisco Torrens Fask in the 1950s, who was a a biologist, a doctor, working on the on his theory um, that every time our heart beats, it's kind of generating a watt of power, and during an entire day, our heart's beating like 100,000 times. So a
Mm.
100,000 watts of power being generated by your body, and you're definitely not using all of that. You're that's not needed for motion, for digestion. But then I also found out that
Mm.
your metabolism is also generating energy, which seems quite obvious because we're eating all the time to get energy. But are we eating to get energy, or are we eating because we're brainwashed and programmed again into doing that, into eating? And then I found a lot of biblical references, scriptures that were removed from the Bible that they now have put into the brackets of the Apocrypha books, where it's basically detailing how to fast and how to eat one day, not eat one day. then eat again one day, then not eat the other day. And if you're not feeling well, don't eat for 2 days and then eat again. And I'm like, I can't imagine not eating for a whole
Mm.
day, you know. So but it's just because we have been pretty much poisoned, brainwashed, and our bodies evolved into a certain specific way of life, which just goes to show how incredible your body is, that it can fit into any modern psychopathic construct, you know. So if you
Mm.
create this life where you're eating in the morning, then you're drinking coffee, then you're then you're eating lunch, then you're eating dinner, and your body can't wait to sleep because that's really all sleep is. It's fasting. So your
Yeah.
body is literally shutting down because you're poisoning it every day.
But is that not
So
enough though? Like how would we know when, because you're saying that we should fast every day, let's say. You know, every other
yeah,
day
every
we
two
should
days.
fast.
Yeah.
Every yeah. But how do you know that that's the right amount? Or maybe we should be fasting for a week? You know, like what, how would you know what's the optimal amount? Because maybe sleep is enough, is what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Like maybe just sleeping is the fast that the body needs.
I think the fasting then gives you a whole nother level of connection with your divine energy,
Mm.
your divine kind of
Hmm.
self, and then you will get the information. I think that you will know, okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna eat today. All right, tomorrow I'm not gonna eat, and I'm still gonna drink water. Fasting doesn't mean don't drink water, but it's hard to find the scripture that describes exactly how to
Mm.
do it because that was removed from the Bible, which is super suspicious.
Yeah, because maybe it's
Super
that
suspicious.
maybe the point is it's all subjective because we should be really focusing on ourselves and not the collective. You know, we should really tune into ourselves and know what
Yeah.
individually we all need. You know, and then we have break fast, breakfast, right? So
Yeah,
obviously, you
breakfast.
know, that's
Yeah.
another way that we've been tricked through emphasis through spells, right? So
Well, I
um,
mean, every time we open our mouth, we're actually speaking this inverse Hebrew.
mm,
So English comes from German. German comes from this kind of Latin. Then I think it's Yiddish was
yeah,
even older, and then Paleo Hebrew before that, and then Hebrew Aramaic before that. So
and even
sorry, Aramaic.
Hebrew comes from sound vibrations when you really break it down as well.
Well, Hebrew is a fascinating
Mm,
rabbit hole. Yeah,
yeah,
because Hebrew is actually mathematics.
yeah,
Hebrew is not a language.
yeah.
Um, and I can blow your mind. Okay,
Mm,
with
mm,
this one. So apparently, every sound or, as you said, a phonetical structure has its own numerology.
yeah,
So in the uh, Hebrew gematria, it's called. I don't know if you've heard that term.
yeah.
In the Hebrew gematria, there's this equation for father, mother, child, and then
Hmm.
family. It is absolutely insane because it basically means that Hebrew must have been here before humans.
Hmm.
Do you see what I mean? Because the numbers come from us just counting things. Like any creature could do that. Any creature, I mean, a lot of creatures count, you know, it's not um, some kind of
Mm,
super ability that is only, um, so performed by humans. So father has the sound av, which is, I think, father, aleph, which is one and two,
hmm.
which is also the first two letters of our alphabet, aleph, bet.
Mm, yeah.
Okay, ready? And then mother is aleph and mem, which is 1 and 40, mem or mom.
Mm, yeah.
You believe this
Yes, that's
stuff
how
is
language
crazy.
sort of formed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you have father and mother together added together, which is 3 and 41, which is 44. And the word child is Yeled, Yud,
Mm,
Lamed, Daled, which is
mm,
10, 30, and 4, which is 44. So,
mm,
so this is, I think, the etheric frequency. This is like when you know this language decide from this language they decided every other, tongue almost. So I think we were speaking Hebrew, then we built this tower, got too close to heaven, and then we have a Tower of Babel kind of story where suddenly everybody's speaking these different languages. And I think that's the Moors coming to Europe, teaching everyone different languages so that we cannot again
Mm.
get to the high kind of
The core,
echelons, this high consciousness, right?
yeah,
Because if you know Hebrew and you know everything's mathematic and you're learning that at school, you're light years ahead of anyone else already because you now
absolutely.
know that this is not language. This is the word of God you're speaking, literally. And it's mathematical and it's based on creation. And yes, of course, mother and father make a child, and then obviously it just goes on and on like there's crazy ones like blood. There's a connection with blood, and then you realize that yeah, we're basically almost being miseducated from birth. Yeah.
So that's what they can do then is they
Yeah.
can work out the perfect, you know, you could even say cymatics because I think these shapes they actually come from sound frequencies as well, sound vibration, and people have actually shown that through doing kind of experiments through, like putting the actual Aleph frequency through something to create the shape of it, and that shape becomes
Yeah.
the language, the letters, right, the characters and stuff like that. It even goes to that level. But then what we're saying here though is that if you knew that and you knew that perfect God-given structure, you could then change it slightly to create a different frequency and give it to the rest of the public, give it to the rest of the
Right.
world to
Right.
use. And so therefore they're taking on a fallen character set and therefore they become fallen characters themselves, as above, so below.
Right.
So you're teaching people the kind of the broken language, which is broken mathematics, which is broken sounds, which is toxic frequencies, if you like. And then people are using that and it becomes cursive, like curses, spells, spelling, So I think
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
maybe how it's been done. But yeah, that's a whole could probably do a whole free presentation on that. That's it. I love that. I
Oh,
love
you
that
could talk
stuff.
about gematria. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
because it says that I think it was Moses. Yeah, he said that you need to learn everything, like every word you need to learn to create this new kind of vision of what reality is in God's image, kind of thing.
Mm.
And yeah, yeah, and yeah. So if you miss out one or two, it's all going to fall apart. So so I
Mm.
think if you have that knowledge, you're not going to just give that to anyone straight away. You're going to kind of use it as a control mechanism.
Absolutely.
And but you can work out a lot of prophecies from that. You can
Mm.
understand that there's mathematics to how you treat your child.
Mm.
If you can get back to the original calendar before the Gregorian calendar,
Hmm.
because you can start to realize there's 13 months of
Yeah.
equal days instead of what we
Tw-
have now, which is a
mm.
complete joke. Yeah. And you also
Mm.
then realize, I think, that you're not that far from Jesus's birth. That there's probably many centuries been added on of fake history to distract you and pull you away from your timeline.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many really good ones. Like even the period of time that it takes for the sperm to fertilize the egg is
Mm.
also mirrored by the there's no end to it. But once you understand this, and then you go into a
Mm.
cathedral, maybe next time you go into a cathedral or some ancient palace,
Hmm.
you'll see that they are showing you this everywhere. That they are putting that everywhere. They put it in the acanthus leaves. They put it in the. Have you seen the fasces? It's just like a bundle of twigs,
Yeah.
which was just like
Fascism, where we get
early
fascism from. Yeah.
fascism. Yeah, yeah. So that's the Italian and
Mm.
used by the Nazis. Yeah. And then yeah, you can see like the seashell. The seashell is used as a form of rebirth because
Hmm.
again you got the Hebrew gematria. So they've been doing this since even like Roman times. They've been using the Hebrew for a long, long time to
Yeah.
create symbolism.
Wow.
Um, okay, let's go for it. Do you want to do something really crazy?
Yeah. Let's go with the flow, man. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so when I went to visit relatives in Germany, I saw what some of these statues. These are kings, and they come bearing these rubies or gems,
Hmm.
diadems,
Hmm.
and these are actually kings. They are kings. Now, I thought, okay, they must be African because they look African, but they are not African. They are kings of Florida. So they've always been kings of Florida,
Mm.
and they were given as a gift from the king of Florida called Powhatan, which I remember that as being the father of Pocahontas. So I looked into this a little bit, try to find more proof of that because it
Mm.
could be some kind of fantastical sort of entertainment for entertainment purposes, yeah.
Mm.
But it then turns out that these are real kings, and they were kings of the United States. And then I had a look at some sort of, I don't know if you've heard of the Olmecs,
How do you spell that?
Olmec, Olmec.
No, I haven't.
So the Olmecs are insane. I don't know how they kept these quiet for so many years, but these heads are like about 10 meters across, and they are
Mm.
they are halfway sticking out of the ground all over South America.
Oh, well.
Yeah. So they're not Africans again, they're South Americans. But they're one of the biggest proof. I mean, there's one of the biggest connections to considering maybe the possibility that the names have been switched of the continents, which is
Mm.
yeah. So they're obviously like swarthy looking people, as you can see the noses and things, and they look almost Egyptian to me too, which led me down a bit of a rabbit hole last year. So then I wanted to have a look at so let's have a look at the most important places on Earth. Where were they? Well, four-headed river systems only exist in one place on Earth. Uh, Now, the only place on Earth that has a four-headed river system, which is where the Garden of Eden was supposed to have been,
Mm.
was according to a book uh, by a guy called C. Kincaid, and he said that there's only one place on Earth with this four-headed river system, and I'll get into why the symbolism is so dangerous when you understand it, because uh, the there's only one. And the four-headed river system that I found was the place where Adam and Eve, yeah, it's Genesis 2:10, 14. Yeah.
Mm.
The four resulting heads. You have Pishon, Gihon, Hiddekel, and Perath. If I
Mm.
told you that these are names of places in America, you think I'm crazy, right?
Yeah, no.
But it turns out that the four-headed river system is in America. There isn't any other one that it could be.
Don't tell me Florida.
Yeah. So the four-headed river system was Edison Callaway found in 1950, confirmed that it was called it was yeah, it was called uh, Apalachicola, today Florida. So they changed the original
Mm.
Native American name.
Mhm.
There's also like 100 odd pyramids called mounds because they don't want to excavate.
Oh,
Right,
really?
right.
Okay.
Yeah. So the River Nile was, guess where? Mississippi.
No, surely not.
No, it couldn't have been in Egypt, man. Like, couldn't have been. If you There's also another one uh, about the building of the Ark as well. So we're talking about a biblical land. We're
Hmm.
talking about America as the old world. We're being told it's the new world, right?
Mm.
New York inverted is Yord, which is the original name for London, which was Troy.
Yeah.
So if you invert everything, it becomes old, not new, right? So they'd say it's the new world
Oh, I
because it's the
see.
old world. So they can turn everything into real estate. The oldest cities on Earth can now become, the most high frequency places are now within this corporation because that's what the
Mm.
United States is. It's a corporation. So
Because
yeah.
I did a whole episode and this guy was saying, Neil Bentley was saying that actually the biblical lands are actually in the United Kingdom. And he was going through
Okay.
the etymology of the city, the name cities, and explaining which one, which one's which, like Edinburgh and York, and explaining how these are actually the
Yort,
real
yeah.
biblical.
Well, Yort is Troy, but
Yeah.
the general that escaped after the fall of Troy. So we're talking now about Homer's Odyssey and
Mm,
Homer's various poems that probably turn out to be factual things.
mm,
But this is quite important because it means that the general Brutus gave his name to the land called Britain that he escaped to.
mm,
And then you have these stories about red-haired giants that they had to defeat just to stay there. So what you then have to do is like look at like, okay, how many people escaped from Troy? How many people escaped at the fall of Egypt? These people all seem to, for some reason, escape to Ireland, Scotland, and England.
mm,
So you have Queen Scotia. It was an Egyptian queen, not not a Scottish queen. She was an Egyptian queen that
mm,
escaped to a land and then called it Scotland after her namesake. Then you have all of the gods switched over too because
mm,
they were worshipping Cthulhu, who was the creator god. This goat that we think is Baal and evil is actually not. That's the depiction of the creator god. The fertility god was a goat. He was called Cthulhu. And then you have the Irish god,
mm,
which is basically the Egyptian god because they all escaped to Ireland. So the Hebrews are in Ireland,
mm,
and all of these people worship a god called a Cthulhu, Cthulhu or something.
mhm.
Let me check the name. So there is this Irish god, the Irish deity or god, and this yeah, it's very well known. The god, uh, yeah, Hound of Cuchulainn, no, oh, Cuchulainn. So it's almost the
Okay.
same name.
Hmm.
And he is the goat headed. He's got horns, just like the Egyptian god. So so everything can be linked to this sort of exodus, this great exodus. But this none of this is possible if it's Africa,
Mm,
because then you're not going to land in Ireland, you're not going to land in Scotland, you're not going to end up in Britain. Yeah,
mm.
yeah.
Okay.
So,
Well.
yeah, if you look at the map, but Gopher Wood was this gigantic kind of hollowed wood which was used to build the ark, and then that only grows in Florida. Yeah, so there's like a lot of.
Oh, your audio's just popped out, Charles. Don't know why. Is the mic gone? There we go.
Okay.
Yeah, it's back
Yeah,
now. Yeah, it's back.
yeah. So yeah, I was worried about the mic going. But yeah, why this is so important is because the biggest awakening that I've definitely had doing this research over the
Mm,
last few years is as understanding where exactly we are with Tartaria, um, who are the swarthy Black Moors, and that if, in fact, America has had this shift of its name being altered,
mm,
and if you look at old maps, you could easily kind of switch the names if no one can read, or if no one was allowed to, let's say, read the Bible for a few hundred years, then yes, you could do that. You could change maps, you could change the
mm,
description of things. Obviously, we know that they've removed like Tartaria, and we are kind of rediscovering where that was and the lineages that
mm,
incorporated, and the landmass and the culture. And then you start to see, well, Tartaria was on every map of the 1600s, 1500s, 1400s, and was removed after like the 1770s, which was when we had this conquest of America. So if you conquer America, you're going to want to remove any history that helps people claim their birthright.
mhm,
So the Native Americans are actually the people that believe themselves to be African American slaves that were brought over on ships. But if you look at the population of what is called an African American today, it doesn't make sense. There's far too many African, you know, American neighborhoods. The population is just it doesn't allow for like slaves being brought over and then those slaves having children and
Oh, wow.
and for those lineages to grow to the point where now you have like um, you know a population I mean if you just Google, you can use Google for this, like African
Mm,
American
mm.
uh, population of the US. We're looking at like 51.6 million people. You know, if
Mm.
you go back to when like slavery, when these people were supposedly coming over on slave ships, it's just impossible.
What
You're
the amount of people that are there now couldn't have happened.
Yeah, you wouldn't have like 15% of the entire population being, so obviously the African American is the Native American,
So
and every nation.
are you saying there were no transatlantic slaves brought over, or are you saying that that did happen, but it's just covering over the main story, which is they were already existing there, they were living there already?
They were the natives that were living there. They were the ones that built all of these incredible buildings. I have
Right.
a few photos I can show you
Okay.
of some structures, and a lot of people may never have seen these before.
But to be clear,
Uh,
you're saying there was no people that came over, no Africans that came over, sub-Saharan Africans that came over.
I think that there was a slave trade, like
Okay,
because
there was.
there was definitely a slave trade, but we are not talking about um, uh, you know uh, a slave trade that ends up with you know 15% of the population
Yeah,
being
the numbers are off. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, we should be looking at like maybe 1-2%.
Hmm.
Yeah. Also, the history of the slave trade, the periods of time, the way the slaves were brought over don't make sense to me. Like, we also don't know the names of many of the ships, so there doesn't seem to be that much history that you can go back to.
Mm.
But yeah. So one of the most fascinating things to look at is some of the architecture. Going back to how we actually began our conversation. Uh,
Mm.
so I mean, some of the architecture of the United States um, is mind-boggling. I mean, there were these world fairs
Yeah.
um, that were supposedly temporary, and they told everyone, "Oh, these structures are built out of plaster and wood." They called it staff, which is like a type of plaster of Paris, and they had these amazing palaces, courtyards, fountains. This is like one of them in Chicago. And it's just, and I know there's something wrong with this because we've never been shown these. We've only
Mm.
recently started to find brochures, and I'll try to show
Mm.
you a few more of these. I have a lot of these. There was one in St. Louis, which isn't really known to be a very spectacular large city, but it had one of the most incredible uh, world fairs. And then I realized it wasn't just like a few hundred buildings. There
Mm.
were over 1,000 buildings like this, and
Mm.
some of them are still there today, and they've been like their purpose has been altered a little bit. Some of them have become university buildings. Some of them became the like town halls and stuff. Yeah, I mean
Mm.
you will never get sick and tired of looking at these. Like these buildings were kept out of movies. They were kept out of any of the history of the United States for the purpose or because for the simple purpose that they were just too beautiful.
Just go. Can you flash that up again? That the last one, the
The
last
image. Yeah,
image.
I'm
Yeah,
trying to
because
find it.
I just looked it up and it says it's actually it's known as circular core electrical building.
Yes, yeah. Some of them had these weird
You know,
names. Yeah,
they're telling you, aren't they?
yeah, yeah. They're telling you, yeah, these are electrical. Yeah. Um. Yeah. Let me have a look at some more. I have so many really good pictures, so
Hmm.
I want to make sure that you get to see them. Yeah. There's what they did one in Paris as well. There was a
Mm,
Paris World Fair. Yeah,
mm.
this one's my favorite. Let me show you this one.
Okay, I kind of have to look. That looks like the buildings here in Budapest.
Yeah. Yeah. So the whole world had this kind of super impressive architecture.
Yeah,
But if you told someone today, I mean, you can see the size of the people there, right?
yeah,
If
exactly.
you
You
told
know.
someone today that this was a temporary fair that was just supposed to be open for a couple of months in the US,
Mm,
and somehow the wood held itself up to that scale, obviously we've been lied to I mean, we've been lied to such an extent that it's almost like beyond belief that they thought that this could work.
but we say what are you saying though? You saying that this it was for giants? Is that like your conclusion there?
Well, I mean, who it was for or who it was built by,
Mm,
I do I think I've worked that out, or this kind of
mm,
community of Tartarian researchers. But the fact that this was in America, these large marble palaces, these obvious Moorish domes with
mm,
incredibly sophisticated Roman ornamentals and sculptures, means that the real Roman Empire was in the United States.
hmm.
So real Rome is in the United States. Real Morocco is in the United States. The real Troy was New York, old Troy. If you look at the
Mm,
before the vowel shift, we had new letters added like J to again keep us away from the Hebrew, keep us away from the Gematria, keep us back on this kind of low frequency. So we had the J added.
mm,
We had some words changed, like the F became S and the S became F to make it
mm,
harder for us to kind of get back to our own sort of lineages. So Russia was called Ruffia, or it reads like Ruffia. And then the T and the Y were also interchanged. So York backwards is Troy. Right. So these are the rules. These are the rules of the reset. These are fabricated man-made resets. This is not like the Great Flood of Noah's Day. This is man-made resets where they decide they're going to take away a lot of things all at once. And what they took away was these cities, the original cities of I mean, the greatest achievement of the human race, these cities. And
yeah,
they gave us something else to be the great achievements instead.
and they give
So,
us
so yeah,
they give
built
us
for giants, I
yeah
think.
they
Yeah.
well so you do actually think it was made for giants though?
Yeah, if you look at the archway, I mean
Mm,
that's obviously they've added that lip there, the corridor entrance there.
hmm.
I think that doorway was added. I think the original doorway was this. But you can look at like train stations in the
Yeah,
United
exactly.
States. It's
Yeah,
insane. It's
mm,
like what is it called? Penn Station. It's just insane.
yeah,
I mean, I think the United States is if you go over there with anything close to this level of understanding, you're going to be blown away. Like you're going to see griffins everywhere, and you're going to think like, okay,
they
what
have
are the
that in they have that in London though as well, griffins and dragons and
yeah,
you know
yeah. But there's
um
something very different, I think, about New York. I think it's somehow, I don't know. Do you not feel like there's magnetism, even if you've never been there? There's everyone's kind of talking about it. Maybe it's through Hollywood.
magnetism. Mm. I know that New York's on a ley line, and I know it's an important
Yeah.
on vector point, but
I think it's like
uh,
an intersection of this high energy vortex almost. And I think Chicago is too. I think
yeah,
that's why they built that. They built that grid around these cities. And I think we're talking about the Moorish Empire from Mu. We could be talking about even
mm,
other empires before the Moors, like Atlanteans, you know what I
mm,
mean? Like,
hmm,
but to understand what the architecture means, that it's not just pretty buildings, that it's actually designed to facilitate a higher consciousness within the human body. Even if we were bigger, we could have been giants.
yeah,
But even if we were bigger, we were benefiting from this. And you may start to experiment with that, like standing inside archways, because the
mm,
archways is the recalibration. magnet, right?
Oh, right.
So
Okay.
stand
So that's
inside
so
an
standing
archway.
inside inside an archway,
Well, okay, so
or
an
even a
archway,
yeah,
yes, but you got to make sure it's the old,
yeah, the old
arch-
style. Yeah.
the old world.
Well, that's also why if you look at the bells, people used to stand inside bells, right? Because of the
Yeah,
frequencies for the
yeah,
same reason. I'm wondering also, just it just came into my mind, if you look at the McDonald's logo, I think they've co-opted the arches, right? They call it the arches, the golden arches. So
yeah.
it's like that synthetic overlay that we're talking about. Like, you said you're just changing the letters F
I
to
call it
S.
genetical engineering. Like you're
Yeah, yeah.
genetically engineering people to like it.
Yeah, so
Have you ever
they've
seen
now
that
moved us
film?
across to yeah,
Yeah. So we know we like it and we're drawn towards it, right?
yeah,
This is our subconscious, not our frontal,
yeah.
mind. We're drawn towards those archways, and they're made out of gold, which was that
Hmm.
piezoelectric. Yeah. So
Yeah,
so so I think we're drawn to it subconsciously, and then we eat it, the food, and we're actually eating
yeah,
human meat. I mean, it has to be human meat because that's the religion. Yeah, you have to be eating
mhm.
human. It has to be cannibalism, otherwise, you know, I mean, there's not enough beef on Earth,
Yeah.
obviously, right?
Yeah, should we
There's
just
not
quickly
enough.
should we quickly go into a tangent on like that just for a sec then? Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I mean, please, like, let's help some people,
yeah, so
save their
if you
lives,
go into
because that's
McDonald's,
what we're doing.
you're well, I think they're eating lab meat as well, because I think it's impossible to even get that many human bodies, right? Even from hospitals. But what do you think?
What do I think? I'm glad you asked because I've done a little chat. I had a chat with someone about this, and by the way, we're not just talking about McDonald's. We're talking about every fast food
Yeah, yeah.
franchise. We're talking about like Wendy's, Burger King, In-N-Out Burger, McDonald's. We're talking about everybody really. And yeah, if you look at like the amount of beef like consumed in one day by just Americans, and then you start to realize, well, there's not enough meat on Earth to keep that going for even a month, because you're talking about like 2.5 ounces of beef per day, which is the average American. And yeah, so I mean, I think it's about like you could say that that's about like 60 pounds per year of beef that each person's eating. Um, yeah, so that's yeah. What's the amount of beef? The amount of beef in America by all Americans. Yeah, excluding Europe for a minute. You're talking about like 82 million pounds of beef every day. Now, to get 80 million pounds of beef, simple logic, simple logic. This is not my theory. This is just 82. So you have like 82 million pounds of beef. It takes how many calf or cow? Well, you're gonna have to kill 182,000 cows a day.
Yeah.
Now, how many cows? Do you want to go further? How many? This is what intuition helps you do. Like so, 184 was it thousand
I've got it here.
cows?
I've asked ChatGPT and it says it works out around 40 to 45 million cattle per year would be needed to supply that amount of beef.
Yeah, 100 cows are
Okay, let's ask
grazing.
that. How many
In
this
which country? In which
yeah.
country are they
Yeah.
grazing? Because well, okay. So you would need to kill every day every single cow in Nebraska.
Mm,
Nebraska.
mm.
I don't know how many cows there are compared to people. I don't know. I mean, that's impossible. You can't be eating cow meat. You can't, it's impossible. You can't be. You can't kill every cow in one of the biggest farming, states in America every day. You only have 50 states, what is it, 50 states?
Yeah, 50 states. Yeah. So they're not
So you
importing
got
cows.
enough you got enough beef for 50 days of the year.
Let me
And the
just
other days you're gonna have to use human meat.
let me just see how many cows they've got in the USA total.
They don't have enough, bro.
So the USA has about 86 million cattle, but then we've just
Yeah.
worked out that they're eating, um, oh, per
But they
year,
have to, it's about
45.
180,000 a day
Yeah,
to get, because you're talking about by the way, we're just talking about fast food. We're not talking about like steak tartare or something.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. Mm.
Because I think beef also goes into other things, maybe.
Yeah, that's a whole rabbit hole, that one, definitely. So what do you think then? Where are they sourcing it exactly from?
Okay. Have you heard about McDonald's investment in hospitals?
Only when you mentioned it in the presentation.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that's mad.
yeah.
So who's behind that then? So like who coordinates that?
Well, link this to our earlier research about
Mm.
100,000 watts of electricity being generated by a single human.
Hmm.
Then the danger of angering someone or completely destroying someone's sort of will power until probably they're like almost they don't see a forward or a next day. Maybe they're unemployed. Maybe they're on
Mm.
um drugs because you've got a lot of illegal drugs. Then you've got obviously the potential to arm yourself because it's America. It's not illegal. So then you have internal combustion happening because you're literally, I mean, a heart has that much power. A normal house only needs around 10 or 20,000 watts a day for your central heating,
Mhm.
air conditioning, maybe you've got all kinds of like appliances in your kitchen. So you don't really need all of that energy. So what if you start to do what the monks do, in like up in these like high altitude, monasteries, and they start to actually use their chi
Mm.
energy and levitate, then you have the ability for some people to actually project ideas, feelings, thoughts, words into other people's minds. All of this is now possible because now you understand what your body is actually doing. It's generating electricity. And I think that if you get people to cannibalize or to eat human meat, you're destroying the frequency. You're destroying that whole process. So if there are people who eat this stuff every day, they're eating burgers every day, and it's just part of the culture in the United States. And I think that's why, because you need to give that kind of creature, you need to give them something to do. You need to give the body something to constantly detox from. So I think maybe it's not just eating maybe human meat. It's also, as you said, this genetically modified meat,
Mm.
which is also very damaging. But there's nothing more damaging if you view the Bible as an academic book, not just as a spiritual religious book. That there's nothing more destructive to the human organism than cannibalism. If you go by the Bible, because people used to in the Christian Greek scriptures and the Hebrew Aramaic, entire cities were wiped off the map for that. You've got like Sodom and Gomorrah, where we get the word sodomy from. So there's like there's all of these parallels in the Bible about like what not to do for whatever reason. You've also got like praying to false prophets. So you've got Constantine turning everyone against the old Greek gods that the Romans took and gave new names to, like Poseidon became Neptune, I think, and yeah,
Yeah.
like Vulcan, Mars. You've got all of these gods, which were obviously like fallen angels that made themselves gods, right? And then you have Constantine turning against all of those gods and making Jesus and Christianity the religion of the Roman Empire. And and I think the only way you can do something like that is if it really changed everyone's frequency.
Right.
Why
Yeah.
would some guy, some rebel who upset the Pharisees and Sadducees be be remembered like centuries later and change the religion of the entire Roman Empire?
Mm.
That's what frequency is about. Like there's no single thing. I mean, Jesus wasn't a Christian. He didn't have a Bible. So it's like it's about frequency. It's about finding frequency, and that's what we're doing right now. It's just as important as people realizing that if they defecate in the same pond that they drink from, they're going to get ill. It's exactly the same thing. It's understanding that if the water moves in a spiral on a piezoelectric fountain, it's going to be better for you, you know, because it's mimicking how your body uses that water. And then, of course, now we are starting to realize that the water in your body is a completely different thing to the water in a stream or rainwater falling from the sky. It's completely different. Yeah. Yeah.
So if we're staying on the frequency thing, then are you saying that the importance there is to structure your water, for instance? Like, you see people,
Yeah.
my friend's got like it's like a quantum pendant, and you put it near water and it restructures the water and stuff like that, through golden
Yeah.
ratios. It's that kind of thing, right?
Yes, it is. I mean, you don't have to like you. I mean, people don't have to necessarily be like really good at using cymatics to
Mm,
enhance the water. You can just buy copper. Copper has this amazing way to pull like bacteria out and pull all kinds of sort of like a negative energy out and infuse the water with a higher like electrical current. Because we were always told that electricity and water doesn't mix, right? So like there's all these like movies where like people are
mm,
electrocuting their spouse with a toaster or something,
mm,
and it's like
mm,
you think these two things are separate and shouldn't be combined. But actually there were all kinds of types of therapy in the 1800s where you would have water being electrified and you put your arms and your hands and your feet into the water to recalibrate your whole body.
mm,
Then there's some ancient devices which have these like copper coils that you put each
mm,
side of your head
mm.
that were used to heal people like as a type of electric therapy. Yeah. And everything used to be copper. Like all the pipes used to be copper in the old kind of mansions and manors, and like even London used to have copper piping.
Right.
They used to have copper in the swimming pools to take the bacteria out of the water.
Mm, mm,
So all of this is like ancient knowledge that some previous empire knew, previous civilization knew. And we've got to kind of find that again, find out how
mm.
to enhance the frequency of everything. So that's when you understand why the buildings look the way they do,
Yeah.
and or why even doctors used to use copper like to clean patients. The beds used to be copper, like there's all
Right.
kinds of crazy things like that.
Yeah, I stuck
Absolutely mind blowing.
I stuck copper around my bed, just to
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
just to
So
kind of
that's
keep it
good.
energy protected. But no, I have heard about that as well. Yeah. So then if we kind of cycle back to the arches then as well, that's the ones I
Yeah.
showed you here. I think it looks like it's got copper on it as well. But
Yeah, it's crazy how Eastern Europe still has the architecture. Maybe
yeah,
because there wasn't any economy to tear down the old, build the new. But for
yeah,
some reason, in like lots of these old Eastern European countries, they still have everything the same. And I think now they're realizing, I'm glad we didn't tear down these old structures
yeah,
because they're now the most valuable ones. Because all of the modern architecture literally falls apart after like a few decades because it's all about money, right? It's all about instant profit. Whereas this ancient architecture is much more than just a building. They're very important along that grid, this energy grid. And I think this energy grid is what was being built by the Moors, by this civilization. I think they came here to Europe and built everything. Even though I'm not in Europe, you're in Europe. But anyway,
yeah.
so
Mm,
these buildings, like Romania, what
mm,
is probably the first colony, I think, because it's called Roma or Romulus
mm,
or
mm,
Mora. Yeah. So I think yeah, Eastern Europe has this architecture. They didn't tear it down.
mm,
I mean, a lot of the architecture actually in Europe was destroyed in the various wars. All of these wars were bankers' wars. They were all orchestrated.
mhm.
All of the leaders were trained in some kind of secret society to do that job. Like I think Lenin was trained, given money. Trotsky was trained, given money, sent to start the Bolshevik revolution in Russia. I think Hitler was trained to kind of curtail and get this movement up to build Germany up again for another war because they wanted consecutive wars.
Mm.
Because once you have a war, then you have this need for armaments, food, ammunition, weaponry, you know,
And it's also attack on
all
the
about
on.
money. It's got
And
nothing to do with,
do you not also think it's an attack on the human frequency as well? Like,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
If you're on this mondial like fight or flight
Mm, mm.
kind of response to everything, you're not gonna be thinking about history or
Yeah.
architecture or philosophy.
But yeah, no, great chat. I just want to go just one final thing is that, we talked about eating the cannibalism. It's like puts you into a low vibration, which is what they want. But then if
Right.
we take the opposite, that they do eat children, right? And they do like drink adrenochrome and they do even
Mm,
use certain parts of babies because I think on a frequency level, the not in the physical level, but on the energetic level, that child is, you could say, closer to the universal source, but it's pure in that energetic form. And
mm,
also when they instill fear into the child, there's something that happens that creates almost like a nectar for these people and they drink it and it gives them what they would call like for them it's like the holy grail, it's like the life's blood, life energy, and it actually keeps them
yeah.
youthful. So it's almost the opposite of what you said about the like eating cannibal like dead, flesh. For them, they target the children though, don't they? Or would you say what's your opinion on that?
If any human being on earth drinks baby's blood and doesn't end up on the floor
Mm,
in agony and slowly dies on the floor in their own feces, then there is no God.
mm, mm,
It's all illusion. The whole world's a stage. That's my main message, I think. The whole world's a stage. And if they're telling you something, they're not giving that to a human. I don't know what they're giving it to.
mm.
They're giving it to some kind of reptilian overlord. I don't know. I thought those all died in the flood, but maybe there's some underground.
Yeah.
I mean, there are large, like, I mean, there's a cave in China which has its own ecosystem. It's that big. So,
Mm,
yeah, I mean, they could have hidden underground. I think most of these temples in India and Cambodia are seals that are holding something inside. Because some of these creatures are allowed to be let out at some point.
mm.
Some of them are not. Some of them have to stay here until the end and then die. I mean, how do we still have the Bible if the Library of Alexander was, how do we still have the Bible? So there's magical books like that, like Homer's Odyssey, Dante's Inferno. Goethe wrote a book, Faust, where the devil actually
Yeah,
speaks
Faustus.
directly to a
Yeah.
human.
Mm,
We have the books. The truth is all there.
mm,
Anyone who is literally taking adrenochrome from a scared, murdered child and drinking
mm,
it and does
mm,
not collapse on the floor in agony and like dies within a few minutes, then there is no God. Don't like they want like this is all just creative, evil, sadistic thinking, I mean,
mm.
obviously, you know, uh, these are my theories, but
Oh, yeah, okay. Because I've spoken to a lot of people that have been
yeah.
involved in those rituals, and they've done it themselves, and they're not. I
Yeah, be
can't. I
careful of
can't
those
believe.
people. The people that tell you that they
Yeah.
saw something get
Mm,
sacrificed. Be careful of those people.
mm.
Yeah.
So, I tend
Because
to think if
because
if
if I
all that
saw
if
something like
mm,
that, I would
mm.
never talk about it. Would you?
If you wanted to expose what was going on, I think you probably would. That's the thing.
If you hear like a CEO banker in tears
Mm,
because he saw some child get
mm,
unalive during some ceremony of some in some ancient like European
mm,
cemetery, you be careful of that guy. Don't worry
mm,
about what he's talking about. Be careful of the guy who told you that, you know,
mm.
because yeah,
Well, not
they
even
don't
like
let those people get
not
away
not
and talk
even
about it.
not even like a CEO, just someone that has been involved, or they were a child that was meant to be killed and used, or
Oh,
just
okay.
witnessed it as a child on a child level, who were saw
Yeah.
other people happening. I've spoken to a lot of people like that, and I've got a good radar for these types of people, and I do not believe they're all clubbing together and working out the narrative and all making sure it's exactly consistent they're all
Yeah.
coming up and they don't know each other and they're telling the same sort of things and the stories are corroborating. And so
Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, but it's an interesting one, But I do agree with what you're saying. The world is a stage, and
Yeah,
I think, yeah,
maybe I just physically can't handle that being possible.
yeah,
I mean, I've done. I think I've gone into most of these topics deeper than most people, and
mm,
there are rules here. There are very, very important rules here in this realm,
mm, mm,
and God is very much still watching. We are being observed, and everything we do is being recorded, and there is some magic here. There's real magic here. Like
mm.
if you're really free and your mind is really high frequency and you're willing to take this information in and think about it, I think you'll come up with the same conclusion I have, or that many people whose books that I've read. And but I keep referencing books, but I have to try to give you actual
It's all
names
right.
of
No, it's fine. If
books.
you think of any after in email, just let me know and I'll flash it
Actually,
up
I did
for us.
mention some books, but
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But Charles, do you wanna do you have anything in the making or I'll get everyone to let's say to everyone now, follow Teacher Charles TV on YouTube. But is there anything else
Yep.
or should we just get them all there and then they can kind of navigate from there?
Yeah, Instagram. I post every day. That's what the algorithm wants. So that's Charles Ross, and then I have TikTok, Charles China Taiwan, and also Facebook Charles Ross. Yeah, yeah.
Brilliant.
So,
Right.
so yeah, for now, just the basic social media and YouTube. But hopefully one day a website and
Have it all get it all under one roof type of thing. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
I'm
something else.
sure